Hey everybody, it's Dan Harris. Thanks for checking out our video series. Today we're going to be talking about my top 5 NFL player props for Week 8 of the 2021 season. All right, let's start with Jonathan Taylor going over 67.5 rushing yards at -110. Now, Taylor's been on a roll here of late, surpassing 100 yards rushing in 3 of his last 4 games, and it wouldn't be a surprise to see him add another one of those games to his ledger here against the Titans. Tennessee has not allowed a ton of rushing yards to opposing running backs, it's true, including Taylor himself, who is held to just 64 yards rushing in the team's first meeting this year. But first, that was on just 10 carries. Second, this is a different version of the Colts offense. The offensive line is healthier and playing better. Carson Wentz is a threat now, not a hobbled liability like he was when the teams met back in Week 3. And okay, fine, the Titans haven't allowed many running backs to put up big games on the ground, but they're 25th in DVOA against the run. This is a divisional game. It's going to be hard fought, and it's a must-win game for the Colts. This is pretty much their chance to get back in the race for the division. They're going to want to control the clock, work on play action, move the ball methodically and carefully. Expect Taylor to see his customary 15 to 18 carries and come in above this mark. Next up, let's talk about Matt Ryan and go under his 284.5 passing yards prop at -115. Ryan has been hot lately as he gets more and more comfortable in Arthur Smith's offense. 342 yards passing against the Jets in London, 336 yards passing against the Dolphins last week. So you might look at this number and think, oh, all right, you can pop right past that. But I mean, the Jets are 28th in DVOA against the pass. The Dolphins are 26th. That was called feasting on 2 really bad pass defenses. The Panthers may be struggling as a team, but they're still 9th in DVOA against the pass. In 7 games, they've allowed just 1 quarterback to surpass Ryan's prop total. Now, admittedly, they have not faced a murderer's row of opposing quarterbacks, but still, this is generally speaking not a defense that you attack through the air, and they're getting healthier this week. We already know that Shaq Thompson is going to be back, but Stephon Gilmore is likely going to make his debut. Justin Burris should be back from injury. So if you're the Panthers, you need to win this game with your defense, so expect a major effort here. Fade Ryan's passing prop total. For my third prop, I'm taking Dalvin Cook going over 25.5 receiving yards at -110. Now, Cook looked good in his return to the lineup back in Week 6. Given the bye week, we can expect him to be fully healthy heading into this week's shootout against Dallas. Although he has performed well when he's been healthy, he really hasn't gotten heavily involved yet as a receiver. Just 1 game with more than 2 catches or 17 yards receiving. So why am I optimistic about his receiving yards prop this week? First, the Cowboys may have not allowed a ton of rushing yards to opposing running backs, but they do allow passing yards. 6 games, 6 running backs with more than 25.5 receiving yards. The Cowboys have allowed 41 receptions to running backs. That is the 6th most in the league, and it's 3rd most on a per-game basis considering that they've already had their bye week. They've also allowed 299 receiving yards to running backs. That's 7th most in the league, 6th most on a per-game basis. That's a pretty big hole in an otherwise strong defense, and you can expect the Vikings to exploit it in a game where they're gonna need points. Cook should have a big game here off the bye, especially through the air. Next up, let's talk about Tom Brady and how he's going to go under 313.5 passing yards at -115. This number really is just inflated. The Saints defense is really, really good when it's healthy, and it's healthy. They're 6th in defensive DVOA against the pass, and Brady played against them 3 times last year. His numbers in those games: 239 yards passing, 209 yards passing, 199 yards passing. Marshawn Lattimore is back and healthy and playing at an elite level. Paulson Adebo has been really, really good in coverage. Bradley Roby has also been good. And though they haven't totaled a ton of sacks until this last week, they still have a 26% pressure rate. That's 11th best in the league. Plus, Antonio Brown is surely not going to play in this one, and even though Rob Gronkowski should be back, that's just not going to be enough to overcome what looks like a pretty clearly inflated number, as I said. It's never fun taking an under against Tom Brady, but I would do so here with this matchup. For my final prop, I'm sticking in that same game and going with Mike Evans under 71.5 receiving yards at -110. We just talked about Marshawn Lattimore and how good he is. Yeah, he gave up that long touchdown to DK Metcalf, but putting aside that it was a pretty blatant offensive pass interference, it was just a fluky play, and he totally shut down Metcalf otherwise. And Mike Evans and Marshawn Lattimore have been in the NFC South for a while now, and the story usually goes that Lattimore shadows Evans, and it doesn't end well for Evans. Last year, the Saints and Bucs played 3 games. Evans fell short of this prop total, 71.5 yards, when you combine all 3 games. In the one game Lattimore played against the Bucs back in 2019, Evans was held without a catch. Now, the fluky catch can always happen. We just saw it with Metcalf. But Lattimore has allowed just a 45.5% catch rate, and he has historically shut down Evans, as we said. I expect Evans to be held relatively in check here, as he usually is with Lattimore, and come in under this number. And those are my top 5 player props for Week 8 of the 2021 NFL season. Thanks for checking out our video series, and make sure you're subscribed here over at youtube.com/bettingpros so you don't miss any of the great content we're going to put out all season long.